Good morning, and welcome to our Sunday morning forum. We hold this forum each Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. at Fellowshp Bible Church, Middleburg, Florida. Welcome. In studying the following verses, notice a linear flow of history until Jesus returns. Let's pick up where we left off with Matthew 24 and look at verses 4 through 8, where Jesus describes general world conditions during the period between his ascension and the time immediately preceding his second coming. Look again at Jesus seated on the Mount of Olives as he continues to answer his disciples' questions. And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no one deceive you, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." Let's take a closer look at verse 4. "Take heed that no one deceive you." From the outset, Jesus warned the disciples that many would be deceived as they anticipated his return. There have been times in history of the church when rash predictions were made and then relied upon, resulting in great disappointment, delusionment, and falling away. One notable example of this was the prophetic expectations in 1844 with William Miller in the United States. Because of his prophetic interpretation, calculations, and publications, there were hundreds and thousands in the United States who were convinced that Jesus would return in 1844. When he did not, there was great disappointment, with some falling away, and some cultic groups spawned from the prophetic fever. "See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." The kind of things Jesus mentioned in this section are not the things that mark the specific signs of the end. Things like false messiahs, wars, famines, pestilences, and earthquakes have certainly marked man's history since the time of Jesus' ascension, but were not specific signs of the end. In effect, Jesus said catastrophes will happen, but these will not signal the end. In the midst of any great war, or any great famine, or any great earthquake, it is natural to believe that the world is coming to an end. But Jesus said, there is a far more specific sign that would indicate his return, and he describes this later. In verse 5a, Jesus continues, "For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ.'" Here are 4 examples of impostors to consider. First, the popes are considered by Roman Catholics to be the vicar of Christ on earth, representing Jesus Christ himself. 2. Rise Evans in 1607 to 1660, a Welsh prophet who later renamed himself Rise Evans, was arrested and imprisoned around 1650 at Newgate Prison for impersonating Christ. Condarati Silvano, 1730-1832, the founder and leader of the Skopje sect in Russian Empire. And here's another one. Anne Lee, in 1736 to 1784, the founder and leader of the Shakers. Lee's followers referred to her as Mother, believing that she was the female incarnation of Christ on earth. Jesus continues in verse 6, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." A commentary on that verse. Though none of these events are the specific sign of the end, collectively they are a sign. When Jesus described these calamities as beginning of sorrows, he literally called them the beginning of labor pains. Just as is true with labor pains, we should expect that these things mentioned, wars, famines, earthquakes, and so on, would become more frequent and more intense before the return of Jesus, without any one of them being the specific sign of the end. A.R. Fawcett writes about the phrase, "and shall deceive many," "Go ye not therefore after them," Luke 21:8. The reference here seems not to be pretended messiahs deceiving those who rejected the claims of Jesus, of whom indeed there were plenty. For our Lord is addressing his own genuine disciples, but to persons pretending to be Jesus himself, returned in glory to take possession of his kingdom. This gives particular force to the words, "Go ye not therefore after them."